My name is Garrett French. I'm shooting today at the Ced's UnConference. So you're telling me about the user interface design session and how that specifically applies to what you're doing.
So I mean, one of the things that they were talking about in the user interface design session was that you, the developer, are not the user. And it's something that people need to be reminded of constantly, because I mean, people tend to design stuff the way they would expect to use it.
You see that over and over.
And if you're not the user, then sometimes you get it wrong, and actually most of the time that's wrong.
Most of the time you get it wrong.
I'm in a little unusual situation in that, having come out of an academic laboratory, I have at least an idea of what sorts of things will work in that environment. Now, the thing that scares me to death is that I may not be typical of the user from the academic environment.
Your approach will be very research-oriented, though, I suspect.
Yeah, well, one of the things I intend to do is, when I finish particularly the current application I'm working on, is to actually go in and observe how people are using it.
Sure.
Although I've also been thinking about ways to perhaps automate some of that and actually get some information back from just the patterns that people are using when they're doing it, to say, okay, this particular method, nobody ever uses it.
Right.
Well, everything that I'm doing right now is all browser centric.
Okay. So just quickly tell me what your solution is designed to do.
Okay.
I should have started there.
The problem is, particularly in small biotech companies and academic laboratories, is that there's no good centralized database system for keeping track of some things as simple as, where are my reagents, what's in what freezer, where are things that I need to be able to find, to which experiment did we run last week. Right now, if you were to take a standard lab book and try to find out if somebody did a particular experiment, you'd have to leaf through it page by page from the approximate right time if you've got the right person that was doing the experiment.
It's all on paper right now.
It's horrendous.
So from that user interface session, what did you take out of it that you think is going to be useful to you in your work?
Well, I think not assuming that it's right is a good thing. Obviously you've got to start somewhere.
Right.
In my case, I can start with what I would use, because I was in that environment. I have a pretty good idea what sort of things are going to work and what isn't. But that's not good enough. I mean, I've got to follow up on it and see how people are using it. Are they using it the way I expect them to? Are they just adapting to idiosyncrasies about the system and working around it instead of complaining about it?
Right.
Things like that, which are.
And how do you detect that?
Some of those things, like for instance, the working around it, around a particular bug or something like that, you'd have to almost sit there and watch them. Use it, or at least get in there and talk to them about it, and maybe over a beer
things you
or
forget,
a cup of coffee.
It's like,
say, oh yeah, that really bugs me.
Exactly, and you just forget about it, and you live with it sometimes.
Yeah, and sometimes people will just adapt around it. They find another way of doing the same thing.
Right.
And then they'll just say, oh, it doesn't work the way it's supposed to, but we can do the same thing this way. And then just because they don't want to bother with a bug report, or they're busy and that sort of thing, they don't ever give that feedback to the developers.
Right. I'm gonna cut it.